Yeah, I got some cars that have filters and then bring them back. So.
You're singing tomorrow, Dennis?
Yeah.
8 o'clock?
Just about every Sunday, that's the problem with the deacon stuff.
I don't think it Don or Dan forgot Pastor Blonsky's not gonna be here, so we need a third deacon.
Yeah.
If not, I told him last night, I'm like, we can just do what we do on Saturday nights. It'll take longer, but we'll get it done.
You enjoying the snow and ice? Are you?
I didn't ask for this. I had my car out.
You what?
I had my car out.
That's dumb.
It was what, like almost 60 degrees last week. I'm like, yeah, get my car out again. Quit taking my wife's car.
Oh, you both have a car there?
He has the red ones and I have the blue Honda.
You have the blue.
Yeah.
I just recently started sitting back because it was inside, right? I didn't know you had two cars.
Yeah, mine's lived in the garage during the winter. Well, during the more winter. I don't know where we are now.
It's gonna be really warm the next 3 days.
Is it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 65 on
Really?
Monday.
And then
Nice.
Wednesday it's going to be like, or no, Tuesday it's going to be 69 with severe thunderstorms. And then by Wednesday we're down to 32.
Right.
Again.
Oh, again, huh?
Yeah, for a day only.
Yeah.
And then we're,
No snow or anything.
I don't know.
I'll tell you something. Last night coming home from work, there was a lot of spin outs and people off the road and
Yeah, they don't.
That freezing rain.
Yeah.
Snow was.
you know,
All kinds.
I was going back on 294 and like where you turn off to go to Devon, you got that wall there and then they got another wall here, so it's kind of like a funnel. And there was like 8 cars, all different directions and piled up in there. Bad.
So Monday 63, Tuesday 69,
Mhm.
Wednesday's 32, Thursday's 44, Friday's 53. And I'm out of here.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Oregon for
Oh,
10, 12
nice.
days.
Yeah, we're
What's the
going
weather
up
like out there?
You really want to know?
Rain or snow?
Yeah, he'll tell you. He's got it planned.
Well, I do. We have our home out there, and it's, oops, I don't
Now, are you saying Oregon, Illinois, or Oregon?
state out.
Ah,
Like the West.
nice. Nice.
So I'm coming.
Sunny.
So we can, yeah. Tomorrow's 100% chance of rain, then it goes down to 93 by Wednesday.
Wow.
And then when I'm there, it's like 58% every day, which means it
It's
may
Oregon.
rain a little bit during the day, but it's like almost 60 degrees. So, I'll be playing golf.
See, that's why it's so beautiful there.
It is beautiful.
You get all that rain.
So you got the RAV4?
Yeah, what's that?
You got the RAV4 car?
No, I did not.
You got the Packer thing on your,
Me? No. No.
Yes.
Dennis does. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
oh, did I? You took. Yeah. Wait,
No, I'm talking to you first, and then
He's talking right through you.
then I talk through you, yeah.
So you're a picking fish?
Morning.
I like
You got all the deacon stuff figured out?
No.
I'll be grew up, who's there tonight?
Oh, yeah? You grew up
Tonight, me and
You
Dennis.
know what? I like to
Tomorrow morning,
like
you,
me,
Glenn,
like, I like
and
the pictures.
John.
I always have.
Okay, and
And
then,
then me at 10:45. I think we can do what at 10:45?
Yeah.
yeah, you
I
can.
mean, you know what?
You need to
Because
get-
the only 3 available are you.
But if you need help at 10:45, I can help out.
Yeah, we just need one for 10.
Yeah, he is.
There's each.
We really could get by a couple,
Somebody to bring the bread.
You know,
slots can do that.
At 8 o'clock, we can just do what we do tonight. If we don't have enough meetings, it'll just take a little bit
Yes.
longer, but
Yes.
But Glenn said he
No,
would.
everything is changing, but still.
So you both
I
do
get
it
the
from
sense
10:45. Glenn's ushering.
You know, I like it out west too.
Oh,
And then
You do a
both
lot.
were at 10:45.
Right.
We were both at 8.
And people are good.
Yeah.
He got back to me last night.
But you know what? They are different. They are different.
Keith,
If John shows up.
Figure out.
But
now we'll go to plan B.
Ken's son, Ken, I don't know much about Ken.
It's
It's like
They talk about it.
nobody says that what happened anymore, but yeah, he's tossed.
And, my mom's got a place up in Boulder.
at least we don't have the common cup that meeting.
Yeah.
That one?
Well, that's,
So then
I'm not sure we'll ever go back to that, right?
A lot of people want the Monaco.
I don't know, I had it cut off.
Marlene's like, you gotta find out all the days people are unavailable, not just the days that they were gonna serve. So,
Yeah, it's.
so then I asked Greg to give me all of his days back. Because it's just quite a few absences here through.
Right now, yeah.
Ron's gone and Rob's gone. It's not.
And then I'm gonna be gone, and then,
And Dennis
Dennis
and
is
I
gonna be-
sing every other day.
yeah, if you guys wouldn't sing,
No.
or if we get Mike to step up, that'd be
We get
great.
enough deacons for.
So you don't wanna hear Mike sing?
No, just Deacon.
Oh, Deacon?
Yeah.
Seems like
Well, you know, I'm praying on it, and I haven't got an answer yet, so I think I'm gonna take
I'll
a
give,
vote.
I'll
I
give
put
you,
in
I'll
for
give you an answer.
I put in for a usher, and I put
That's
that in a
good,
few
thank
weeks
you.
ago. And I just called Sherry yesterday, I go, Sherry, you know, I'm terrible with my email, Dennis knows. And I said, did you send anything to me? Because I got nothing, and she apologized, she said, Mike, I didn't send anything, I've really been backlogged. I said, that's fine. So, tomorrow, she said she's gonna have some information for me up on the desk up there, so I thanked her.
Well, don't feel bad, I don't get the weekly thing anymore. Contact.
I get some.
I didn't want to make sure that I was dropping the ball, and, you know,
Keep asking.
All right,
terrible.
all right, we're gonna get started this morning. So we are on the last two chapters. Wow, I gotta turn it down.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a couple of responses, so if they don't respond today,
All right, that sounds good.
and it said,
Don't need to go through the roof.
and they said,
All right. So we're in our last two chapters of Growing Older, Growing Wiser. And so we're going to be looking at Psalm 71, the first 13 verses today, and then the rest next week. This is going to be dealing with fears. And then we're going to jump into Ezekiel. And I am finalizing where I want to go with that. Where are we? Let's see.
what are we doing today?
Chapter 8, Dealing with Fears. We're missing Ron Barons. Who else?
John sometimes is here, John Kelly. Sometimes we have Rob Bosness.
He's in Florida, I think, still.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Maybe they'll be join us when we start Ezekiel. So, let's open with a word of prayer. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord, this chance to gather to study your word, to hear the wisdom that is found in the Psalms as we talk about our fears and our fears and what that looks like according to your word. Lord, I just ask that you would guide our study and guide our time together, guide our discussions and our thoughts. And Lord, we just ask that you would help us to learn what it means to grow wise in your word. We ask this all in your son's name, Jesus. Amen. All right, so we're on page 40. Refugee. The word brings up images of desperate people lined up at border crossings, clutching a few possessions. Or perhaps we think of vast tent cities filled with sad-eyed children, surrounded by high-wired fences. To be a refugee is to be without home or help. But at the root, what is a refugee? It is the one who has taken refuge. Regardless of our wealth or nationality, the Lord offers refuge to each of us. As we get older, we feel more and more of our need to take shelter in Him. I'm going to pause there because I'm like, I know something's going to be said, so with everything going on in the world, I'm like, all right. You guys, go ahead. Go ahead. I know you guys want to say something.
I think a lot of people have an issue, Pastor, with, years ago, people got in line and they waited their turn. I think the biggest issue is, I think they're just considered line jumpers and all these, and I talked to some people who were coming over, specifically some Filipinos, and they have a big issue with them. They're not American. Well, maybe they are with citizenship now, but they said, we waited our time. We had to pay money. We did this and this. So they are very anti against, I was surprised. I was in a senior center and they were in there. They were very against that. They said, we waited our turn. We stood in line. We paid whatever we had to pay. you know, we didn't jump anything, and so I was surprised. So it's just not Americans, it's other people who came over,
Yeah.
did it the right way, stood in line. They are not happy with the people
Yeah.
who came across their
Yeah,
border.
I got a good friend of mine that's, came from Slovakia back in the day. Yeah, he went through the whole process of everything. And he just, I'm so proud of this guy because he wanted to be American. Mike, when I was a kid, I used to read about America, you know, about during the Second World War and everything. He says, I used to read that. He said, I wanted to be an American so bad. So when I came here, I was going through the process. He said, I would go as often as I could and give blood because I knew I was doing something for America. My blood was going to go into an American. He was so proud of that. And he's definitely, like Steve says, he's definitely against how everything's going now.
Yeah, well,
All right.
it's tough, you know?
It is.
And,
Because there's good people coming across too.
I think the biggest thing is the people that come that are violent, criminal, and, you know, that's the biggest, for me, that's one of the biggest problems.
Well, they're having
Oh,
more
yeah.
people, as you're saying now, I see, being arrested for shoplifting and all sorts of other crimes, yes.
Well, and what bothers me the most is that I think we're so naive that we don't know how bad it's gonna get.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
It's a criminal aspect. It's not that, hey, they're all great people. And, you know, that's going to be very, very, and you're going to get even the more people to the far one side who are against them, even going more and say, hey, these people are committing crimes and so on. Yes.
Yeah, we helped a family from Myanmar, from, there's an organization, this is sort of Lutheran started organization that helps people when they come to Chicago. So, you know, give them their welcome gifts and everything, and they waited like 10 years to get here. But they're very resourceful. You know, they're dumpster diving for computers, and I was like cracking into them so they could use them and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, things are different now, and it's they don't. These people coming illegally, it's a totally different situation.
Part of that's our fault, though. I've had to deal with
So,
trying to get employees registered who've been working here for a long time as citizens and stuff, and getting a green card and everything else would make it so difficult, and it's no wonder they try to just cross over.
And
Someone
then,
that applied for, I'm gonna tell them, just go to Mexico and cross.
then when I hear the guys reporting on the border, they're like, these NGOs or these other organizations, like this Catholic organizations, and the Lutherans are there too, and they're helping all these people and whatever, and they're assisting them in the crimes or whatever, and I'm like, oh, great, you know, you're saying all these Christian organizations are assisting them to be criminals.
All right. So, what are some positive and negatives about independence?
To be tempted to do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Positives. You have freedom.
But you may not be in community.
Yeah, that's a negative.
I'm married, so I don't know what independence is.
Number one answer, bing.
50 years coming up, you know?
Hopefully your wife doesn't watch this.
Oh, no, she knows. She knows. By the way, I did get that article about on Babylon
Okay.
from her.
What else do we have for positives and negatives about independence?
I better be quiet.
No.
My wife found this, my son went to Wisconsin to do something. He came home with this newspaper. It said Wisconsin Christian, I think it says.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, and I guess I was aware that he brought the thing, but I didn't know there was an article in there about Babylon and how, you know, we are in Babylon, basically. And
They was asking the question, "Are we in the Babylon?"
Yeah, you know.
And they were trying to present their case, and
Yeah.
it was kind of
really
funny to
good.
read.
It was good to read, but
We're definitely
I'll get you a copy.
post-Christian. We're definitely post-Christian.
Yeah.
And post-Christian, I read an article on that. You know, when you're post-Christian, people don't think about God at all. If you're pre-Christian, people have other gods and stuff, and it's easier to talk to them about like our God's the right God. When people don't have any gods, they're not easy to talk to about Jesus. They just don't want to listen at all.
Interesting.
But now that we're going back around, like the wheel's coming kind of back around where you're getting a lot of Wiccans and you're getting a lot of other kind of people work, whatever, Satan worshipers or whatever. And so the wheel's coming back around where people are needing that spiritual aspect to their life. So that may help for outreach.
All right. So do we have anything else for positive? Let's see. Not in community. You're free, but you may make the wrong choice because of that freedom. Anything else you guys want to say before we dive deeper?
Well, a lot of countries would want independence, so they have their own political rule.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, maybe they're punished somewhat financially, and they won't have a burden financially if they're independent. That's one aspect of them wanting to go. It's not always, but a lot of it is a financial, that they feel they'll gain. Now the income is gonna be on there versus paying a tax to whatever country was kind of ruling them. So some of it is purely maybe financial. Over the years, there wasn't a lot of bad punishment. Maybe when the British were ruling India, and they got out, it was more financial. It wasn't, they were being persecuted, just especially more modern times now where other countries were kind of being associated. I mean, I don't know if that's even the right verbiage I want to say, but, a lot of it was more financial in today's world where maybe Britain was kind of, they were a commonwealth, so it was nothing so much negative, but they go, well, we want to have some independence, and for sure 100% financial independence.
So for your personal reflection, when you think of aging, what do you fear most? What do you hope for most? The writers of the Psalms, face the same fears we face, including the fear of weakness and old age. In this session, we pick up the first part of the Psalm, and in the next session, we will complete it. So we're going to read Psalm 71, verses 1 to 13. And I'll start, and then we'll just take a verse each. All right, everybody has their Bibles open? All right. In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame.
In your righteousness, deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me.
Be to me a rock of refuge, to which I may continually come. You have given the command to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress.
Rescue me, O Lord, my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the unjust and cruel man.
I'll have to pass on this right now. I'm kind of still searching here.
Okay, for you, O Lord, are my hope, my trust, O Lord, from my youth. Upon you I have learned from before my birth. Oh, you are he who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually of you.
Still passing?
Yeah.
I have been a portent to many, but you are my strong refuge.
My mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all the day.
Do not cast me off in the time of old age. Forsake me not when my strength is spent.
Speak concerning me, those who catch up, who watch for my life, consult together.
And say, God has forsaken him. Pursue and seize him, for there is none to deliver him.
O God, be not far from me. O my God, make haste to help me. May my accusers be put to shame and consumed. With scorn and disgrace may they be covered, who seek my hurt.
All right, so these are our verses. So Psalm 71, we don't know who wrote it. We want to say it was David because of some of the language is very similar to a lot of his psalms that he writes. But we don't know for sure if he wrote this at his older age or if it was someone else. So I just wanted to point that out before we start. So throughout this passage, what is the significance of the word refuge? We get some beautiful imagery by the author, whoever it may be. So what's the significance of that word refuge that we just see? It's all over the place in this psalm.
Taking refuge in God.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all about that nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a safe place because we don't have God to be our safe place.
We don't want him to be our safe place anymore. We have all these other great things to replace. Yeah. I'm looking at be my rock of refuge. I think you guys hit it right on, but I'll check the. No. All right.
Day and age, everybody's haughty, they think they got it handled and everything. And, there's, no.
All right.
Have that farther outlook, right? Like, what's gonna happen later?
Yeah.
Yes, they have the idea that you're going to be die and then you're going to be gone is kind of really corrosive to people's
They like
actions.
try to put it out of their mind, is what you're saying?
Because they don't think there's going to be heaven or hell, they're just gone.
When and how has God proved to be a refuge for you?
I could do nothing without, at least nothing right. That's a fact. I tried. Peace of mind. It's just, I don't know. Say it.
I suppose I could say that I had some health issues at one point, and going through all that kind of makes you think more, and came out the other side more focused on serving and bringing glory to God.
When you feel like you're going down the wrong path and he pulls your back.
All right, so do you feel like he's our refuge when things are only going wrong, or when things are going, good in life, we also see him as our refuge, or we don't really need him at that point?
That's a lot of people like that. They don't know God until something bad happens. Oh, God,
Like
Yeah.
that's our sinful nature, not
Yeah.
praising him when things are going great,
Yep.
realizing he's the main, he is the only thing that is making our life great.
So maybe it goes something like, so Sundays we're here, or Saturday night, whichever day you worship, you're here and you hear, oh, God is great, and you're like, yeah, you're my refuge, I want to run to you. And then you go out on Monday and Tuesday and things are going great. And wow, yeah. And then by the end of the week, things are falling apart again. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, I need God. I need that refuge. I need to go back to him. Would you say that's kind of how the cycle goes for most of us?
Pretty much, yeah.
I could particularly say one denomination, which I'm not going to, but yeah, I was part of that at one time. And Sunday after, Monday morning, you're ready to go and sin some more. Because you've been saved already. You went to church and everything, and then everything was wrong.
Get your tank filled back up.
What's that?
Get your tank filled back up.
Yeah.
I've seen that illustration before by a pastor. I'm like, that's interesting. So, how do past and future come together in verses 1 through 4?
Well, I guess if anybody knew that, it was David. It was like he was always under the gun. He was always being chased. He had a lot of, but he really loved God.
Oh, doesn't give me. I'm like, wait, well, okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, because at verse 1, he says, in you, O Lord, do I take refuge. And then let's see. You have given the command to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. I'm seeing if he changes the tense, but I don't see that.
Which I may continually come, that implies over time.
Mm-hmm. So the past was he went to God as his refuge, and then the future, as Dan said, is he wants to continually come to him as his refuge.
Things like you are or whatever, that's sort of a continuous idea.
Yeah.
It
Showing
can't
his
be.
dependency on God for that refuge.
Yeah. So the psalmist refers to the Lord as my hope and my confidence in verse 5. How does that differ from saying the Lord gives me hope or the Lord gives me confidence?
It's kind of an interesting idea because God is the one who gives you the confidence, but He's the thing that is the confidence as well.
I'm like, yep, that's exactly what it says.
Well, I think that's because of what he did.
Right.
Yes, right. And that's why he is our hope as opposed to giving us
Well, I
hope.
mean,
We already have the hope because of what he did.
He's everything to both of those. He gives you confidence, he is the confidence, it's all the way around. You're in a good spot, put in your hands with him.
We trusted him.
Right, with your trust.
even before he actually did it, he said he was going to do it, which is just as good as having done it.
So, question 4. We might feel a general sense of hope that things will work out for the best, and thank the Lord for that hope. But to say that the Lord is our hope is to express confidence in him no matter what happens. So you guys are right on with that one. So in verses 5 to 8, the psalmist gives a very abbreviated version of his life story. How does his history resemble yours? So how many of you grew up in the church, like going confirmation and Lutheran day school, the whole 9 yards? We're active in the youth group and, all that fun stuff.
Sunday school, 52 weeks, not take off for summer like they do now.
Well,
I don't understand that. Well, when I was going, Jesus didn't take a week off, but I'm not sure, Pastor, why do you think it is that they take a break from Sunday school now during summer?
I think it's because the attendance just it goes deep down because people go on vacation and
When we went on vacation or went to relatives, we went to church. We went to church. We figured it out. You had to bring back the bulletin to show that you were there. That was part of the helping keep your attendance to get the extra year in that pin. Remember, I don't know if the older guys remember, you used to get a pin and you get a year. So if you miss less than so many weeks, you got a year. So my sister and I had numbers that the Sunday school teacher said, wow, we've never seen these large numbers. I said, well, when we'd go to my aunt and uncle's, we'd go to church. So you had to, if you missed less than like 4 Sundays, if you were 48 weeks or above, you got an extra year in the pin. And that was kind of you wanted to show that how many years. And my sister and I, well, my mom was a Sunday school teacher. That was part of it. So she promoted it big time. So yeah, we didn't miss Sunday school. Even if we were sick, she would coach me up in my pajamas. Put your suit over for 1 hour. Can you give me 1 hour? I think I can, Mom. So she would coach me up to give 1 hour. Okay, just put your suit over your pajamas. That was when people still brought their kids if they were sick. But anyway, yeah, that was what it was all about. It was 52 weeks a year.
You were lucky, Steve.
I know with my confirmation kids, I'm not sure if they have gone to Sunday school in the past or what they were talking about in Sunday school that they did, because they don't know some things I would maybe think they might.
all right. So we have the youth. Let's see here. Upon you I leaned from before my birth. How many of you as a younger person leaned on God? I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't. I was one of those that was like dragged to church against my will. Shocker. He's sitting there like, wait, why do we call this guy? I'm like, aha, we got more on him. Pastor Blonsky, he wasn't a good Lutheran kid. He had to be dragged to church. Literally, I was dragged to church, and then I was like dragged to confirmation on Wednesday nights with the pastor. Like it was, you know.
I mean, I remember, I grew up in Wisconsin, St. Lutheran.
Ooh.
A bad thing, right?
Oh, just very strict.
Yeah, very strict. No Boy Scouts and stuff like that, you know.
No clapping.
And I remember we had confirmation and our pastor was leaving at Christmas or January or something like that, you know. So we had to do double duty with confirmation, you know, Monday night and Wednesday night.
Ugh.
I had to miss basketball practice, which really, you know, irritated me. And, but I remember, we had our confirmation January 1st, 1967. You know, that stuff's always stuck.
New Year's Day?
Huh?
New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
Wow, that's
That
way
was, he was leaving like, you know, January 2nd, 5th, or whatever.
like that's way different.
But he finished up, you know, with us. He wanted to make sure that we finished. And that was Pastor Myers, you know.
Mhm.
So it made a big impression.
Saved your knees from.
Oh, it did.
Let's see. My praise is continually of you. I don't know. My mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all the day. I'd say more later in life, yes. So how does your history differ from the psalmist? Whoever this psalmist is, I'm looking here. I think I already shared mine. Like, I was involved in the youth group and like that at my home congregation, but it was, you know, forced. It wasn't at my choice. So despite his confidence, what fears does the psalmist betray in verses 9 through 11? Mm-hmm.
There are dangers.
Yeah, cast me off in my old age. Forsake me when my strength is weak. He's worried about what his enemies are saying about him.
No, I mean, that's the way it is.
Old age is tough.
I think that's going to...
They getting old ain't for sissies.
I've had my own share of run-ins, especially when you're sort of contractually in a contractual relationship with someone. They can abuse you because they have the upper hand in the relationship.
So let's talk about questions. What dangers do we have? What dangers do we become vulnerable to as we age?
Well, our health, weakness, possibly, memory, but we hope we have some positive and independent, especially now, people are getting more independent. Hopefully a financial independence gives you some strength. So, you know, hopefully you have some wisdom that you say that was just not a good idea, or hopefully you have that when you, any daily activity you're doing, and hopefully you'll have some wisdom from mistakes in the past. So that will give you a lot of positives, but the negative is, of course, your health as you get older. You know, that's why it's important to maintain our weight and a lot of other things that we have some control over. Don't smoke, you know, we're told this, you know, to help prolong our life and make our life better. You know, some of it is our control, some of it may not be, but, you know, the stuff that's under our control, we really need to be steady and you know, be steadfast in what's told by us by a doctor and help our life as we get older a little bit more positive and productive all the way around.
There's so many different vulnerabilities when you get older. There's so many different ways you can become vulnerable. Whatever. So, I mean, you're distracted by other. You have a lot of responsibilities, so that means you don't have a lot of extra time to kind of beat off the dogs. You know what I mean, or whatever. There's always you get more enemies or whatever. People they're jealous of you. I mean, it can happen at any point in life, but it seems like the older you get, that you collect those kind of problems. Yeah.
And yet, as I get older here and go through stuff, I just feel irrelevant, you know, at work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
You
I don't have, I gotta work harder to maintain my social group of friends, because,
Well, it's harder for me, you hit a big point on me, because I'm single. A lot of my friends are married, so that's a whole nother issue when you're a 64-year-old man who's single, and specifically socially, that's a pretty tough one. They talk about their kids, grandkids, well, that's something that's way past me, that's all going by me, I don't have it.
pictures.
So that's specific, and that hits me real specific
too late,
about
Steve.
socially with married people or so versus a single person. Sometimes you're kind of left out. And of course, I gravitate more to some more single people somewhat, but yeah, that's a good point about maybe socially.
Yeah, but then, you got more time for the Lord, and you gotta think about it in that direction. What more can I do?
Yes,
I
yeah,
got more-
right.
I got more time. So
Right.
those are some
Yeah.
so that's not a danger, the first part seems to be a danger, and then you might do dumb things, because you got time in your hands that you.
And danger of temptation.
But hopefully you've got some wisdom that you're not doing those dumb, dangerous things. You're doing a little bit more positive, or, that's like where the Lord says about, about things that you left undone, and you did, and I'm, thinking, well, I don't want to have a lot of, I'll try to get the undone things, because that's something you have some control. The things you already did, you can't erase them, but, I think back now that when you're older, things, maybe we don't want to leave undone, tidy these things up, make it good, our mistakes in the past, we can't correct them, but just make sure going forward, we're not making those mistakes, and we're doing positive things, So I think that's important as we get older, that we're doing more positive than, we don't want to make dumb mistakes like we did when we were younger. I just have a hard time when I hear in the news that these older people, I'm like, what's wrong with them? A young dumb person, but you don't want to be considered old dumb. Young and dumb, but that's, you don't want to be considered old and dumb.
Yeah, but
Yeah, they do stuff, but I don't want to be in that category.
That's one thing, but then, where I work, we've got lately all these 70-plus-year-olds hitting on college girls, And so they've lost their job, they're, reported, they're like, what the hell is your problem?
Wait, they've lost their job?
Well, they got fired.
Well, you're talking about your employees at the
Employees,
campus?
not mine, well, they're employees in our group.
Oh, on the campus?
On the campus,
Oh,
70-year-old guys that are kind of retiring,
Yeah.
or 70-year-old guys, they came in to be an adjunct professor to teach a
Oh.
class, and then they're
Yeah.
getting on a 22-year-old,
Yeah.
and it's like, what is your problem with you folks, And that's been over the last 5 years, has been a thing on campus, and we're at Loyola, a Jesuit school, and you'd think that stuff wouldn't happen,
Wow.
but it's there. So, those people need to rethink what they're doing.
Yeah, they're old and maybe they're making some dumb mistakes.
Well, they got maybe, 3 of the guys I knew, wives and stuff.
That's even worse.
And, what's your problem?
That's even worse. If a single guy like me
Sorry,
did it,
Pastor.
he would be bad.
we don't respect our bodies as much as we used to.
And you're bringing up the fact they're married. It'd be bad if I was doing it as a single person, but it's even 1,000 times worse when you're telling me now that these are married guys, and yeah.
It's all worse, it's all the same.
Well, I think it's worse if you're married. I get hit on a single girl. Nothing wrong with that, but the married guys, to me, it's 1,000 times worse. I'm not married, but they are. That's
Get a fun kick, actually get a kick out of all this.
I'm like, I enjoy this. I guide it a little bit, and then you guys, like, I don't have to sit up here and lecture. 'Cause
Well,
I
I
don't
just
want
feel sorry for them, because, and I go, what can I do to, you say something and they don't want to listen to you, or they want to hear from you, and, what do you know,
not to do it, and you know enough not to do it.
Well, sir.
That's one thing.
I see that, there was something I saw when I was a kid, a long time ago, and I just see that as an older man with a young girl, is like really ugly, and yeah, you're there, you see that, I see that in my industry. People fly off to the, to these other countries for the young girls and stuff like that. It's just, I have too much pride for that, I think, I couldn't do that. It's just, let me guess, you're with them for the sex, right? Yeah, I don't think so. It's just ugly. I just see it as ugly.
Well, Pastor, what's your opinion? I worked with some, now we've got a subject where, sorry, in business, these are some of the executives, and they divorced, remarried, and they have the term is trophy wife. What do you think about, he's got a wife now 20 to 35 years younger.
Think about it.
Adultery? Adultery would be the first thing I heard.
And then what are you getting married for?
I mean, what do you think about that? Because I've worked, and it's amazing that all these guys, quite a few of them, had their second wife, and they're, executives, and they're much, much, much younger than that. And they're walking around. I mean, is that in your opinion okay? Would you frown if one of your relatives had a 20 to 35 younger girl or wife, I should say, because they married, not just girlfriend, but they married them? Would you have an issue if your uncle is walking around with a younger 35-year-old younger woman?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
One of my relatives has been married I don't know how many times. I'm not even going to go there. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. Anything on this side of the room, Mark? Yeah. This is a great question. I'm like, I don't want to just, Any other dangers you want to?
Well, I think the danger nowadays is they're not too caught up in secular worlds, what's popular today.
The sexual
A lot of
revolution.
that where, social media is trying to drive everybody's morals, which is a problem.
Yeah. So,
So would you say, as you get older, you're vulnerable to the dangers of being influenced by social media, society, by whatever? Like,
the older fellas,
It
I don't know.
depends, when you get to a certain point, when your memory and your mind starts failing, people take advantage of that.
Yeah,
And it can be an issue.
Yeah.
Like, we're in that kind of middle ground, where we still have, control of it. But, the 70-year-olds and stuff, 70s, 80s, they get preyed upon by a lot of people. And they could
Yeah.
easily
Yeah,
look up.
my grandfather did. They like, hey, let me come into your house and see. Oh look, you have this good stuff. Let me give you $1 for it or whatever. Like, right? Like he didn't know any better. He was getting Alzheimer's, right?
Right.
We're in the position, or like maybe I don't know, but like you get midlife crisis. That's a kind of a different thing, where then you're trying to take, as usual, you take the good gifts that God gives us and make them into something awful. Right? That's why you're like, oh yeah, men want to have, younger women. So then it just turns, it just makes it, take something good, which is you're looking for someone healthy or whatever, and it's bad where you're destroying your family.
all right. So how does the psalmist show that he still sees the Lord as his refuge? And verses 12 and 13. He's calling out to the Lord. You can see that. He's saying, be not far from me. Help me.
He's gonna need it more now than ever.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah, like he's seeking the help of God. And then at verse 13, he's like, go after those accusers.
Right.
Make sure they pay for what they've done to me.
Yeah, those that are hurting.
And there's kind of a double meaning to all that too, with the devil being the accuser.
All right.
Those who are doing his will.
All right. So if you were the psalm writer and you wrote verses 9 to 13 today, what would you say? So this is where he's pleading with God not to forget him in his old age and when his strength gives up. And then he's talking about his enemies. So what would you guys say today if you were to be the psalm writer?
I'm in your hands, Heavenly Father, please help me.
Help me, yeah.
What else would you say about like your enemies and like that?
What?
What would you say like about your enemies?
Get rid of them.
Deal with them justly.
Would you really say justly, or just smite them and
Deal with them,
zap them?
deal with them
Yeah, I
in
know, it's hard.
forgiveness and
Well, deal with them in your way, maybe not the earthly way, which might be, let your punishment be dealt by you, and I'm not gonna tell you how to, deal with them. If you're gonna be, show mercy on them, then that will be fine by me. I think that's why we need to sit that we have a merciful God. Maybe we want more punishment, but if he shows mercy to them and forgives their sins,
He knows best.
then we need to say, then you, obviously, Lord, you did the right thing. I stand with you, whatever you feel or punishment, if it's gonna be total forgiveness and we have to walk with you and there's our enemy sitting next to us and he was forgiven and we need to go on. I mean, that's, I think, what life is about. Don't judge, unless you want to be judged and so on about, hopefully I'll get forgiveness, so I have to ask for forgiveness for my enemies who might be sitting next to me, or else I will probably maybe not be forgiven. So even though it's hard to do, to ask for forgiveness on my enemies sitting next to me, if I don't, then I'm probably not going to get forgiveness by the Lord. So I think we walk a fine line, with that it's a hard thing to do, to ask our enemies for forgiveness. Because if we expect forgiveness for the Lord, I think we have to ask our enemy who's sitting next to us for forgiveness.
I think also that you just want to make sure, ask for that you are able to hang around people that are good for you, which is like this, right? That you associate with people of similar values and Christianity and things of that nature.
Well yoked,
That is, yeah.
equally yoked.
Pastor, I realized something, living here my whole life. People who maybe I thought were my enemies years ago, they come back into your life. All of a sudden, this guy's working with me, or now he's on a sports team with me as I got older. So I realized, don't get so mad or burn bridges with people, because not saying they're 100% friends now, but these people who you have problems with, especially if you're living in the same area, my whole life, 64 years, these people come back into your life. Oh, they're a friend of a friend. Oh, now I go to somebody's house, they're now their neighbor. Oh yeah, I remember you from 40 years ago, or now they're working with me, or now they're back on a sports team I was playing with, so it's amazing how often, as I got older, realized how often maybe these people come back into your life. So you try to realize to have some forgiveness, because they're back in your life. Not years later, but maybe decades later, and they're back in your life. So I try to be open to that and realize that people maybe who are your enemies, they don't go away, and especially if you're in the same area, they kind of come back, and maybe now in a much more positive way now. They're a friend of a friend, or a neighbor, or a coworker, or now they're on your sports team. So I realize that so I try to have some forgiveness more as I get older and realize that people might have hurt you. They don't go away. They're back in the life, and maybe they'll have a second chance, and you'll have a second chance with them. But yeah, they've come back a lot of times in my life. So, and maybe we kind of become friends because we're friends. We have co-friends now, and so on. But anyway, the thing with enemies and burning bridges, that you live in the area, they're going to come back to you.
Small world.
Yeah.
That's God getting a second chance maybe to reach out to them and
Right.
bring it back.
Right.
Now that you're wiser.
So as you look at growing older, what resources do you count on most?
My wife, family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm glad I realized that. He gave me a good woman, Rebecca, and she's a great help, but, man, I gotta stay prayed up, because it's wicked.
What other resources do you guys look to?
My children.
I would say not the government,
No.
because we don't know if Social Security is going to be around very much longer.
Hey, come on.
Well, for you,
Old guys like me, but yeah.
I was going to say to you, why is there older gentlemen? Yes.
No, I was looking at Steve.
You're in your 60s, right?
I'm 70.
Okay, well,
I'll be 71 this summer.
I'm still in my 60s, so
Yeah, you're lucky.
we're just right. We're not, you're here and I'm here, so it's not a big difference. This
No,
man's in his 80s, you're in your 60s, Dennis? Mike, 50s?
60s.
60s, oh, we're right there.
Yeah, see, you fine gentlemen will have Social Security, but when it comes time for me,
Save your money, Pastor. That's all we gotta tell you. You might need to get a side hustle.
I don't know if that's allowed.
Is your wife working right now?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
I mean, I have retirement through the Senate as long as, the Senate doesn't.
Well, there'll be money there.
Be different. That's all.
Yeah.
I had to say, I'm like, well, we can't trust, the Social Security because we don't know what's going to.
When you're in the lowest labor camp, you'll get meals.
I mean, when Putin takes over, when the Russia now it becomes the United States of Russia.
She's.
Remember that movie years ago called America, where it was like 40 years ago, where Russia, it was called like America with the KA on it. It was like what was called like a mini series, like a 3-night on ABC, and people really got scared because it was about Russia dropping a bomb and taking over us, and then they called us America with the KA. But anyway, that was still the Cold War era in the early 80s.
So, what other resources do we count on most? Family, friends, what else?
Church and Bible study.
Yeah,
All right, yeah.
Bank account.
that's dangerous.
All right, we can be honest. There's no,
Well, he's honest because as a senior, that helps your life. If you have a little money and you were diligent, which I think I was. Well, I was the overtime king for 45 years, so that helped me, And but yeah, I think being a lot of good German Lutherans. Well, there's a word that we are generous, the G word, but we're also C sometimes, the cheap. Well, but it's if you're cheap, it's good to also say, well, the person's also generous. But we see that in the German Lutheran, kind of being cheap, but also generous, which is good,
So, where do you need to transfer more of your trust to the Lord?
Every category.
I remember as a seminary student, I had a part-time job because seminary is a full-time thing. And there were times I'm like, Lord, I don't know how this is going to get paid, and I don't know how I'm going to get through this and this. And somehow it all worked out. Mm-hmm. So I really have to work on the trusting Him, not just seeing what's in front of me and being like, okay, how can I do this on my own? Because when I do that, it usually is a disaster.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm going through that now, trying to do all the Social Security and Part A and Part B and Part C and D and G and Rod, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's confusing, and you're not going to get a check starting soon. So how do things balance out? And I've really come to the point where I just got to trust that everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be taken care of.
That sounds like the.
But it's a long way to get
That's the punch. That's the tagline on the commercials are running for the Bob Marley. Everything's gonna be okay. They keep that's the Bob Marley movie. That's the one. Everything's gonna be okay. That's one of his song lines.
Right.
Everything's gonna be okay.
But it
Everything's
takes a
gonna be
long
okay.
time to get there.
Yeah, you can move in with me as long as you make a few meals and you watch.
You know what? My wife would be great.
Based on this, Psalm 71, though, I think he's saying that, we give up, give to God our enemies, basically, and what happens to them, and trust Him that He's gonna protect us from them. And take the appropriate measures against them. I think that's kind of partly what this psalmist is trying to get to. on this one.
Yeah, good point.
What else do you think you can transfer more trust to God, to the Lord?
Time management.
Like spending more time in His Word.
Then we could get the slated deacons to. Yeah. Plus, I can get other stuff done.
Then we can get more deacons, right?
Yeah.
Any other ways we need to transfer more trust to the Lord? Maybe when you get, well, if you look out at the world and you see what's going on in the news, you have to, remind yourself every now and then that God is in control of everything, even though it seems like everything is just coming off the rails.
I think health, because God designed our bodies well, but people don't believe that because they think we evolved randomly, and so they don't really believe that, and so they start trusting in pharmaceuticals and stuff and whatever. But your body has ways of healing that you can trust. Maybe not by the time you're
Like what you just said, I look at it kind of like just the opposite. Is like I'm very patriotic. I love this country, and I see what's happening to it, and it just, if I don't put that over here and say, Mike, it's God's plan, God's in charge of everything. He puts our rulers in. Every civilization must fall. Thinking it's our turn, and it just has to happen for Jesus to come back. That's just how I look at it.
That's what
That's how I look at it, because other than that, I am very bitter about my country,
Really?
Oh, yeah.
about leadership or just specifically leadership?
And that too.
Or,
Yeah, well, that's huge. Look at us, look at how we've fallen so quickly.
the decadence that's destroying us, just like Rome.
Just like Rome, I always say that. Rome fell from within. No one could beat Rome. They were so strong. Rome fell from within. Look at them, look at us.
I don't want to imagine.
I know.
I'm not. What is this gonna look like? All right.
Yeah, well, you know what, God's in charge, Pastor.
Mike, my issue with being positive on that, people had all these issues years ago with a president. Oh, we got this president, the world's coming to an end. We move on, another president, and we saw the same thing, going back to maybe when Ronald Reagan, and then it was Clinton, and then Obama, Bush, Obama. The world's going on, and when President Trump, well, the world's coming in, now Biden, and then we're gonna have another president, and then in 4 years, it didn't come to the end. But a lot of people
Right.
thought, they're just looking at it politically, how people, when these presidents, and I always thought, well, in 8 years at the most, we're gonna have a new president at the most. It'll change. So in 8 years, and we survived it. I'm thinking back, going way back to when Nixon was president. But oh my God, Trump or Clinton and all these, the people think the world's coming in. Well, you know what? No matter who's elected, whether it's current President Biden or maybe former President Trump, in 4 years we'll have another president. And then people will not like that and think that the world, and it has, so I try to be more positive on the political end because the world didn't come to the end for the last 12 presidents that people thought it would.
Or even further than that.
It's just amazing to me how
being somebody in the 60s.
people put so much, it's like have some hope that, things are still in the center going to be okay. Maybe on the left and right outskirts they won't be, but in the center we'll be good and we'll still survive. And in 4 years we'll have another person, unfortunately, that people are going to knock, and then another 4 years. But I try to be positive, saying the center, Mike, it's good. The fringes, yeah, we have problems on the left, right fringes, but in the center we're still good.
Right.
And I think
I get that. I get that.
so that's my positive about the politics where, yeah, I may like one over the other, but man, the world's not coming to an end because 12 presidents ago you thought it was, and then 11, then 10.
Right.
They make such a big deal on that. The world's not going to end, whether it's President Biden maintaining, or to me, President Trump comes in there, because then in 4 years, whoever's going to be running, I can't believe it, but that's just how some people are with that.
So
That's
what
my
I-
opinion.
What I've
That's how I
heard
feel.
is the church grows through the blood of the martyrs. So I guess what we need to do is pray that we can get some of it over with and more persecution so that the church will grow.
Yeah,
That's about the same.
Yeah.
Because
right.
That's happening anyway.
places like China that really have restrictions on that stuff, but they've shown that Christianity is really taking off in China.
There are more
Right.
Christians there than
Because
their population here, practically almost. I mean, there's 100.
Ethiopia is huge. They have one of the biggest Lutheran churches in the world. Yeah. All right. So to put a final thing on this, I think what we all need to do is transfer the trust of our future, because we don't know what the future is going to look like. And we have ideas of what we want the future to look like, but ultimately it's in God's hands, and we have to remember that. Because you're retiring, so you don't know what your future is going to, and you don't know how it feels to retire, so.
What's it like, Ron?
What's it like?
Sleep till noon.
It was wonderful 4 years ago, but it's changed now. It's lonely.
Anxiety.
In your life, I think, Ron, looking at my life versus yours, mine's not gonna change a whole lot. You will, yours changed tremendously because you were married to a great woman and you no longer have in your life. I'm not gonna ever lose that because I never had it. So I could see how your life is gonna be tougher, possibly physically, not physically, but more spiritually, emotionally, because you lost a great person. I never had a great person, so I don't know what it's like to lose someone. But yeah, I would think as we get older, I'm gonna be kind of here. Yours, unfortunately, just because you lost someone great.
I'm 89 next month,
Yeah.
and sometimes I wonder what my purpose is. I know God's got a purpose for me, and we talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
God's got a purpose. And I don't know what that purpose is, and it bugs me that I'm just kind of wandering through life.
No, you're not.
You're not wandering. You're like everybody else in this room. You're just trying to figure it out every day or month and just go on.
Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Keep on doing what you're doing.
You help me every weekend.
The wise Yoda.
All right, you.
Good nickname. Now we got a new nickname for you.
I think
After Ryan, Yoda. Why's Yoda?
no, Ron, not me.
No, I said that was you threw the nickname out. I'm saying, per Pastor Ryan, you are the wise Yoda.
Pastor Rossi calls me his Padawan. I'm like, can you be Yoda and I'll be Luke? Because I don't want to be Anakin. We know how that turns out. So,
All
right.
You don't want to be Princess Leia either.
okay. All right. So next week we are going to finish our book, chapter 9. We're going to look at the rest of Psalm 71, lifelong trust, and then we are going to move on to Ezekiel, and we will see how far we get with Ezekiel. Because I'm not setting out to have the book finished by the time we break for May. So if we take a chapter a week or half a chapter, some of it we will cruise right on through, and some of it we are going to spend some time talking about. So, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited. No. Ezekiel, some of it you're gonna be like, wow, that's really cool, and other times you're gonna walk out of here scratching your head, going, why did he do that? And then I'm gonna be like, I don't know. So God told him to do it. So, all right. So let us close with a word of prayer. Gracious and Heavenly Father, thank you for this time we've had to study your word. Lord, in our different stages of life, no matter what is going on, help us always to find refuge in you. When life is going good, when life is going bad, when we see everything going on in the world, help us not to try to find refuge in ourselves, but run to you and find refuge in you, because you are our refuge. You have been our refuge since the beginning of time, and you are continuing to be our refuge. Lord, I just ask that you would help us all to seek you, to find shelter and refuge in you and in your words, and your words that you have for our lives. And I ask, Lord, that you would continue to bless us here at St. Matthew, that you would bless all the different activities going on this week, that St. Matthew would continue to be a place of refuge for the people of St. Matthew and for the people of Hawthorne Woods and the surrounding area. Lord, we ask this all in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
You gotta go to work?
Yeah, I get it.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, clean.
Do something, you know.
You go home to my house this weekend, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too much.
I'll be okay.
You'll be okay?
Gotta leave it to positive.
Don't talk to my wife about that, because she'll be like, you'll ask her, how was he? He didn't make any sense at all. He was peeing and talking.
I know your plate's full, so.
Monday, I just like decompress, I like hide from everything. Take, well,
I think we're really enjoying what you're doing up there, so
how far away is our company?
don't be discouraged.
Which part, the preaching part? The sign is here.
Where did you get the one, where did you get?
We like you so much, Pastor, we're gonna want you up there for another 35 years minimum. Can you handle